I think it's just recording.
It didn't make me cut the record.
Okay.
Okay. Begin. So obviously we've read many different books and there have been many different themes throughout those books, but it's really fun with you guys to see the underlying themes, and we kind of all have that aha moment, you know, where we go like, oh, that tied back to the Screw Tape Letters, oh, that tied back to 1984 and everything. And I've always enjoyed having those moments with you guys. But one theme that really stood out to me this year was the idea of beauty. And not just like, oh, it has a beautiful cover to the book or it's a beautiful woman as the character. I mean, like the true theme of beauty and the longing for it. In 1984, Winston is living in this like devoid and deprived, gray, sad world, and practically any sense of self-thought or opinion is forbidden. And there's that scene where he's in that hidden clearing, and it's charming. It's got trees and plants, and he sees a bird, and without any direct description, George Orwell creates the most beautiful place in the entire book because of that contrast between the world Winston came from and this tiny little clearing that he is found in. It creates this sense of like, you just feel like you can take a deep breath in that scene. It's the most beautiful scene in the whole entire book. And the whole way he writes, he never directly describes where you are, but you just feel that it's dark and gray and sad. And so overall, the book creates a sense of fear and thankfulness. The fear comes from the idea that you don't want the world you live in now to be taken away from you, and you don't want it to become the 1984 world that George Orwell wrote. And then the thankfulness comes from the fact that you do live in the world of beauty that you do right now. I wrote in a journal entry for this book when we were working on it that reading this book, I am reminded of the joy and comfort and aliveness we get to feel every day. Winston lived in a world that was practically dead. Like, it was the minimum of living. But the contrast is a good reminder of what we already have now and here, and we're thankful for it. Then in A Severe Mercy, Van, when he was a young boy, consciously decided that he wanted to seek out beauty and joy. And the beauty he got from nature, and then the joy he decided he would achieve through a great love, which he eventually found in Davy. And together in their adulthood, they chose to search for beauty together. And they made the conscious decision that beauty was what they lived in search of, and they revered it. They did find a lot of beautiful things. They lived through amazing beauties that sound dreamlike, and everyone would love to experience at some point in their lives. But in the end, they still needed more, even if they didn't see it. And then they eventually met C.S. Lewis, and he showed them a great beauty they hadn't experienced yet, Christianity. Then we have The Awakening of Miss Prim. It's similar to A Severe Mercy in the fact that Miss Prim is still seeking for something, and she's still seeking for that beauty. She arrives in the small town of San Arenio as a librarian, but she later reveals that she's looking for beauty, and she says, "I was longing for a beauty that no longer existed, from an era that one fine day bade us farewell and never returned." But she sort of finds this beauty in San Arenio because they live in such a simple way in a simple time that has passed. And she does find beauty in San Arenio, but she doesn't understand her longing for it and her need for it, and she just can't quite get her hands on it. So at the end of the book, she does come to Christianity and she does find the love of her life and everything, but it's really interesting that you have to read in between the lines to really understand that. But throughout these three books, 1984 as a whole reminded us of the beauty we already live in the world around us. And then A Severe Mercy and Miss Prim showed us real people and characters that revere beauty and long for it, but do not yet understand that they are missing something. That maybe the thing they long for is stronger than simple beauty. They long for God and His beauty, and they don't quite see it yet, but thankfully in a severe immersiveness prim, they do eventually see that. They see that they're missing something greater, the greater beauty that they've been longing for but didn't quite understand. So it's been like so fun to search for that beauty with you guys over the past years. And I can't imagine next year without you guys, so it's gonna really suck.
Let's
But
check her out. Christa, that was awesome. That was so good. Hold on, let's put her back. Let's put on gallery view. And I gotta stop recording. Krista. Okay. This is what I love. Wait, I lost Krista. Where'd she go? There you are. Okay, I couldn't find you. This is what I love. This is the beauty of all this. We had
hi, we're here.
Oh, there you are. We had two different speeches. You froze. Oh. Here, go back and do it again.
Oh, no.
Do it again. Pretend it the first time. Do it again. Get in there, Mike. 1, 2, 3. Oh, wait, I can see Mike's shoulder. Do it one more time.
So she can get a picture.
But I was getting your bucus instead of
Ready?
Yeah, that's so perfect. Thank you so much. Okay, that's what I love about this.
I did
We had
not want to
two
see that
completely
3
different
times.
speeches. So awesome. Krista, I love the way you took the theme of beauty. Love the way you took that. Nobody has taken that in the past and just pulled beauty out of the things. I love the 3 books that you chose and the way that you wove them in. Let's give Krista some feedback. As you're ready, just wave a hand or your virtual hand, and I'll call on you. Allie?
Okay, Krista, you did such a good job, and I really loved how you, draw beauty out of those books, because I didn't as much as when I was reading them. So I love that perspective and that point of view that you gave, kind of just seeing inside your own mind of what you thought about it. And it was very raw and really got into what you thought. And I really loved at the end how you wrapped it up as that they're not just looking for this secular idea of beauty, but instead of the beauty of that is God's love and that is God, because it really is a lot of people in our world, that is what they strive after, is trying to find like the standard of beauty. But I really love how you brought it into God and seeing how beautiful he is.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Somebody else? Yeah, Maddie Grace and Bryn, I see you down there. You're next. So Maddie Grace, you're first, then Bryn.
Okay, cool. Yeah. I really like the theme too. I was gonna say I like how you like pulled beauty out of 1984, because I did not. You know, and like I as a whole didn't like that scene, but I like how you pulled that piece out, because in the context of the story it really was like everything that you were talking about. It was the only, you know, part of beauty that there was, and it was such a stark contrast, and so I like how you pulled that out, because I hadn't gotten that. And I also like that you picked that theme, because I know how like important it is to you. In just knowing you, like I think if someone else had given the speech, it would have been like, oh, that was a good speech, I like it. But like coming from you, like I don't have such a unique perspective when you talk about it, and like especially like in the past like year and a half, I just have noticed that you are really observant, and you see people like differently than a lot of other people see people, and you find so much beauty in like normal things, and you have an appreciation for like, I don't know, just those kind of simple like things that show the glory of God and, you know, his character. And I thought of you a lot, like especially while reading this prim, and so yeah, so I really appreciate that you chose that, because I also pulled out a theme of beauty a little bit this year, but coming from you and in the way you said it, it just all like works so well, and I have such an appreciation and respect for you. Like you talking about beauty, you're like the expert, you know. So yeah,
It's the foreign to me.
Maddie Grace, thank you. And I saw at one point Allie was snapping out something that you said when you were talking about how Krista sees people differently. You know, she sees the beauty. That was really cool. That was neat. Allie's up there snapping.
I don't know why she's friends with me and Parker.
I do not
Gonna be
even
honest.
think
I don't
so.
either.
Yeah.
Amen.
How did
She
that
has a
happen?
big heart. And you know I couldn't. All right, Bryn, your turn.
Well, Maddie Grace, you kind of took what I was gonna say, bro.
Sorry.
But
Hey, say it anyway.
you worded it beautifully, so it's okay. But it was like, I was just gonna say like how Maddie Grace said that if anyone else like gave the speech, I'd just be like, okay, like that's pretty good topic. But I feel like it's just like that was like the perfect thing that you could have picked, Christa, because like beauty also describes you. And like a lot of the books, like I don't know, like just like she also said, like in 1984, like I did not think of like beauty. Like I was like, this is prison. And like the fact that you were able to take something like kind of like almost gloomy and negative like that and just make it positive it's just so you. Like all the years I've known you, like, you know, like me and my mom talk about it all the time. Like, and this is why I have a theory that she loves you more than she loves me. Because always talks about how she just loves your energy and like your joy and positivity, and that's just like all that I was thinking about when you were giving the speech. I was like, this is all Christa. She's like describing herself too. So I just thought you delivered it really well too, because you were like, it didn't sound like forced, it just sounded like a conversation or like something like that. So I just thought that was all good too.
Thanks, Bryn. And I will say something that tagging on something you said. Christa always dives really, really deep in her homework. I love reading her homework. Oftentimes it's pages and pages and pages of digging deep and writing. And I remember reading when you wrote about 1984 and the garden. And I remember thinking about that because I think of it being such a great book. And it is a great book, and you were not denying the fact it was gray, but you were focused on that piece of beauty that they had there and the meaning behind that. And then I love the way you tied in Mrs. Prim and Severe Mercy, and then ultimately seeking and needing the great beauty, God, and watching that progression. So I love what you said, Christa. I want to give somebody else a chance to talk. You raise your hand when you're ready. Yeah, Kim. You might be muted.
I was sorry. Christa, I just loved that to me, it's just such again, I know I've said it before, but just a testimony of who you are. I love that you choose to spend time with my son because him and Parker can use all the beauty they can get.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, look at Parker's profile picture.
You know exactly what it means, Parker.
No, but in all seriousness, I love just how thoughtful and I know that they said Maddie Grace said already, but the words and everything just flowed so well. How you tied in the stories and the theme of beauty, and it was different. Like I've been hearing Allie's speech, yours was very different, but it was so perfect. And I want you to know that. Like, I think that's what's so cool, and something that Miss B has done so well with your whole class is that each of you are individuals, and you don't get cookie cutter answers because y'all aren't all the same. And so it's just really neat. So I appreciate you for sharing your wisdom and how you've pulled together the stories, but I also appreciate you just sharing who you are with both of my kids, with Caden and Allie, and I mean with each person in this class. But we just love you, Chris.
Yay. Anybody else? I don't want to cut you off if you would like to say something. Joy, is your mama there?
I'm here.
Too.
Sorry, we froze midway through the presentation, so we sat on the top step
That's
and
the
listened.
burns away.
Sorry.
Don't know how to use things.
Oh, it wasn't me.
Well, I mean, it just they
froze.
crash on
The
us all
internet
the time.
crashed. Anyway, I did want to say she's been the best person to be quarantined with because she's made it more fun than it would have been without her. So, yeah.
For sure.
Tease me.
For sure.
All right.
Anybody else before we move on? All right, we're gonna leave it there.